Hello and welcome to the next episode of the All-Rounder Performance Podcast with myself, Damian Schechter. Today I have a new friend of mine. Hello and welcome to the next episode of the All-Rounder Performance Podcast with myself, Damian Schechter. Today I have a new friend of mine that I've just met about 2 weeks ago, and his name is Ryan Moresby-White. And it's a real pleasure to have you here today. And I think we're going to dive into some seriously special stuff. There's a lot that I want to learn about you and what you do and the work that you do to help people, men and women, level up, from my understanding, by conscious human design. But I think what we'll do is just actually allow you to introduce yourself and give us a little bit of a story as to where you are, where you're from, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, thanks for having me, bro. I really appreciate being on here, and it's so cool to connect with you as well. And one thing that really brought us together was I heard your accent.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, you're South African as well, because that's where I'm from. I was born in Johannesburg, South Africa. Came here, made the decision to move here when I was 3.
Right.
Um, no, so my parents, we packed up and moved here, and I was a baby. So, but yeah, that similarity, I was like, yes, this is so cool.
Yeah.
And this is what I love about Bali, living here in Bali. So many incredible people that we get to connect with and network with, and
Sure.
yeah, so it's so cool that we get to do this and impact people's lives all around the world,
Yeah.
meet incredible people all around the world, and yeah, I love it. It's incredible.
Yeah, and it was a really cool way to also meet because, like, I was sitting in the front of you,
Yeah.
and just some of the things that you were saying, like when we all had the opportunity to speak or contribute, and we went to I think a little bit of context was Martin O'Toole's How
Mm,
to Die Happy.
mm,
Um, Side note, really good book,
yeah.
and I would recommend definitely reading it. But just that experience, I feel like didn't happen by chance almost, but
Mm,
you know, it kind of did. I wasn't actually meant to go, and Chen Yang, a good friend of mine, actually took me to the event, and it's just like a really incredible thing when you don't think that you're going to find yourself in the right place at the right time with the right
yeah.
people, and it ended up being like almost a bit of a life-changing experience for me.
Mm,
Is from a reflection perspective of how to die happy, how
mm,
to show more gratitude, how to live in the moment. And then that's where we met as well.
yeah.
So it's just great to find ourselves sitting here and
Yeah.
connecting.
Yeah. And that's what I love about trusting as well, trusting in your own inner guidance of like, I feel a strong pull to go towards this thing. And that's something that is a big part of my journey. A big part of the work I do is allowing yourself to really put yourselves in situations where you're listening to a higher power, right? Really listening to and tapping into like, and allowing yourself to be pulled to
Mm,
things like that. And through that, that's where we really, I was talking to my partner about this on the way home that night. I was like, there was something there, like that connection, meeting some of those people, especially yourself. I was like, there's something in there, and I know that something's going to come from those connections. And there was a
sure.
reason we were all there in that room that evening, and it's so cool. Like, and since then we've done a breathwork
Yeah.
event together,
Yeah.
which I know you want to share a
Let's
bit on.
dive
And
into that a bit,
yeah,
dude. That
yeah,
was you know, exactly like what I just said, just intuitively putting yourself in a different place that
mm,
maybe you I don't want to say was hesitant about going into, but I definitely, I think, had like some limiting beliefs when it comes to understanding breath work, understanding a certain side of spirituality. And I think then also stopping myself from going so deep within myself.
mm,
I'd never put myself in like, spaces like that or
yeah,
experiences like that before. So that was a real out of comfort zone. Even Martin O'Toole's talk that we went to a week before that, like, I don't want to say that that was an out of comfort zone experience for me, but like it's more the learning of things that I'm not in any way, shape, or form familiar with. So the breathwork class was definitely something that I walked out of that and I felt like I was on a massive trip. Like that did more for me than mushrooms have, in a special way. So we both went through that experience together. You and your partner were there, and you also got to experience some incredible things. Um, what was it like for you? What was that experience like for you? You've obviously done breath work before.
yeah. Breathwork's been an absolute catalyst to my growth and through my journey and my transformation. And to give some context of what this breath work is and what this event is, if someone's listening to this or watching this has no idea, like what
Breath work.
breathe,
Yeah.
what we talk about. This kind of breath work is called like transformational breath work, where we allow ourselves to really let go. And what I mean by that, like fully let go of the ego, and allow the whatever needs to come through the body to come through. And through this transformational breath work technique that you're guided through, and within the space as well, in the energetic container of everyone that was also there, breathing and going through this experience as well. We allow ourselves to move from the analytical, conscious thinking, doing mind, the worrying about what's next sort of mind, into
The ego.
letting go of the ego that's just like legit just trying to protect us, to allowing the body to express energetically whatever is needed to come through. Because when we look at the body, and emotion, right? And emotion is just energy in motion. When we don't allow that energy to move freely through the body, we store it in our body and it gets stored in there. And until we give it the opportunity for it to express itself, we hold on to it. And this is why, you look at like angry people, they like an angry person doesn't experience an event that makes them angry, right? They have anger within them and they find ways to express their anger, right? Because they have it so tapped within their body. It's stuck in there. So through transformational breath, we can actually allow our body to release any stored or stuck emotion that's just been held there. So this has been a huge journey for me. And like you were saying, it was better than a mushroom journey because, and I say this, like, I feel people need to explore the depths of their breath and what
100%.
their body can do before needing to then go on plant medicine journeys.
Sure.
And we have such an untapped potential that most people haven't experienced through breath and through surrendering to that experience. And it's like I said, it's been a huge part of my journey. And for like that evening for me, that was just like since we moved here to Bali, I've been waiting for an opportunity to be in a space like that where I could just release all the anger and all the energy I've taken on from other people and all the frustrations from traveling and all these things, and have a space to just fully let it go. So if you probably heard like a massive like roar in this session, that was me just like fully letting it out. And then after that, I was able to come back to a more grounded, loving, present place within myself. And that was my experience and my journey with the breath we did last week. And it's different for everyone, and it's different every single time is different. Like legit, every breathe I've done has just been like, oh my, like that's exactly what I needed at that time. And
It's if you heard someone crying like an absolute baby, that was me. I everything was cool. Like, I was really focusing on like in, out, just really being like as present as possible, but also, kind of letting go at the same time. Um, and then just this massive wave of emotion just like came out of nowhere. And man, like honestly, just even thinking about it just makes me feel good because I walked out of that experience with so much weight lifted off of my shoulders. And, you know, before going into an experience like this, I asked myself, what do I want to get out of this? Like, what's actually the theme of me going into this, and what do I want to actually like? What do I want to invite into my life? And, the one thing was acceptance. And I think especially through, you know, the reading that I'm doing at the moment, essentially accepting death and showing gratitude, and at the same time looking at, kind of what's happened in my life over the past year, ups and downs. I think acceptance and surrendering to life has been like a really massive role for me, and like a much bigger theme of, my transitionary phase over the past like 8 to 12 months. And then walking in there and then getting this oracle card that said acceptance, I was like, no ways. Like, are you joking? And then obviously reading the description of that, really just reaffirmed, wait, there's actually something here. And, this is where you need to leave the ego at the door, because, my belief was, no, we just live in the physical world and it's a black and white world. And like, that's it. There's not much to look at in terms of spirituality that can really change my life. And so really having to just like drop the ego and have to immerse myself in I don't want to say a realm, but a realm of like
Mm,
a, a different level of consciousness, if I can put it like that, man. It was a mind-blowing experience,
yeah,
seriously, you know.
so incredible. And that right there is so amazing to hear because it's like the journey that I've been through. And it's recognizing, and for people listening to this, they're like, you know what shit, like what's this shit they're talking
Yeah,
about? Breathing,
that was
spirituality, and
me. Yeah,
yeah. And it's recognizing that we're energetic beings, we're souls having a biological experience within a human body,
yeah,
and recognizing that, and it's going, fuck,
yeah,
like like what, like there is so much more to this human experience than just the physical. And it's really cool to see. And a journey that I've been on is working with the physical. So, and this
mm,
it's a really interesting journey that a lot of like spiritual practitioners and
sure,
gurus and stuff go through. And it's the realizing that you can change your body by putting in work. You can transform your body
sure.
completely, right? And then they tend to move from the body to mindset. It's like, wow, if we can change our body, we can
Yeah,
now change our mindset. If
yeah,
we change your mindset, we can now start to create our life by design, right? And how my thoughts create my reality and all of these things, my belief systems, my values, all of this stuff of the mind. And then the next level comes and it's like the energetic
yeah,
being. It's the transformation of like now understanding that there's a higher source of consciousness out there that we can tap into and that we can be guided by. We can allow ourselves to be guided by
sure.
it. And it's like, whoa, like this is the next. Yeah. And it just,
Oh,
the layers
yeah,
keep coming back and back and back. But yeah, it's like, it's funny. It's like it's the path of like the spiritual guru. They go from like PT to mindset coach to
yeah,
spiritual coach, then to just enlightened being,
yeah.
right?
That's it. So, you know, you've obviously just touched on, you know, going from, let's say, this physical world to now, like, you know, spiritual awakening almost, you know. So, um, how does this, you know, translate to the journey that you've been on?
Mm,
I think that's kind of where we can take this is your story,
yeah.
and essentially like kind of where did you start with this? Because you mentioned to me you obviously had a very physical background,
Hmm.
you know, with sports. So, you know,
Yeah.
how did that now kind of take you from there to where you're at the moment and how you help people?
Yeah. And the last thing you just said there is like how I help people. That's the main focus here. It's like I want to help people experience love, joy, happiness, abundance, and just live the most fulfilling, incredible life by conscious design, right? That's not that a life that hasn't been programmed,
Mm,
a life where you're fully expressing who you were born to be, not who you were taught to be,
yeah,
right? And to do that, like I've just been continuously finding the best and most powerful way to do that. And as I keep peeling back the layers, it's more about the energetic body and working with the shadow and the unintegrated, the wounded parts of ourselves, the inner
yeah,
child, like all of this stuff. I'm like, wow, like when people transform this, every single other area of their life
yeah,
transforms. So for me, just to give some context, and I'll kind of, you know, go through my story a little bit. So I, growing up, all I wanted to be was an athlete. That's all I wanted to. I just wanted to be a professional athlete or train high level and coach high level professional athletes.
right,
And I grew up racing motocross majority of my life. That was my sport. That was my life. So through that, I failed my whole way through school, right? Because I was like, oh, it's all good. I'm going to be a
yeah,
professional athlete. I don't need school. Like all I need is sport and understanding how the body works,
sure,
right? And going through school, I was told that, you should probably just go work physically. You should probably just get a trade and
yeah,
become a tradie because like, bro, you're failing everything. Like just go work physically and like that's what you're good at. So go and do that. So through that, my environment, so the people around me, like, you can't make money in coaching, bro. You're not going to be a professional athlete. Like, just, become a tradie, like,
yeah,
right. And then my definition of success was working physically hard because that's what my dad did.
yeah,
He came from South Africa, $10,000 in his account, came here and built a $1 million company, working physically hard 7 days a week, every single year,
right,
right? And I was like, well, that's how I create success,
mm,
right? So if I'm not going to be a professional athlete, or if there's no money in training professional athletes, then I got to go become a builder.
right,
So I found myself dropped out of school, found myself at 21 years old. And here's the thing, I was really good at using my pain as a motivator, right? Because we're motivated
mm,
by two things in life, pain or pleasure. And I used pain and my deep pain to get me in places in life. And I became really good at things by using my pain.
Right.
And I was 21 years old. I was running my own carpentry business. I was managing multi-million dollar architectural builds and stuff at
Yeah.
21 years old, telling people, 50-year-olds like how to do their job. And I was 21. I built a, six-figure carpentry business at that age. I was doing all these things that I thought I should be doing,
Mm.
right? And all these things, I was like, trying to create the success, working fit. I pushed everyone away, right? It was burning through relationships. I had no self-esteem. I had lost all sense of
Right.
self-confidence. I was seeking validation from women. I was just like seeking approval. All I was wanting was love, right? And I was doing all of these things to get love. And when it comes to emotion within the body, it's kind of like a dam wall,
Mm.
right? It builds up, builds up,
Mhm.
builds up, and eventually, when it gets so full, it eventually breaks or overflows.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. From the outside looking in, it looked like I was crushing it. People were saying, dude, you're doing so well. Like, why aren't you happy?
Yeah.
And
I resonate with this
yeah,
totally.
yeah. And the damn wall broke. And I was, for months on end, I was considering different ways how I could take my life.
Mm.
I was like, it would be far easier and less painful for me to leave this world than it would be to stay in it.
Mm.
And I was really good at hiding that too. And most people use vices or they use things to fill the void within themselves, the big empty void of unfulfillment that was in me. And a lot of people use drugs, sex, alcohol, all of these things to fill that void and allow them to feel some sort of sense of happiness and joy within their life. And I didn't turn to that or partying or anything. I turned to seeking validation from women. That's how I got love. And by punishing myself in the gym every single day. So I found myself, I wasn't going to be a professional motocross athlete anymore. So I was like, CrossFit's the thing. So I trained 7 days a week, 3, 4 hours every single day, cycling, running, swimming, weightlifting, all of these things. And I was absolutely crushing myself to the point where some weeks my nervous system was so exhausted where I had to take a whole month off to just lay in bed
Yeah.
because I was fucked.
Yeah.
And I pushed myself to this point and I was depressed and I was like punishing myself for it. And, long story short, coming back from like all of that, this was a life that wasn't true to me. This was a life that I thought I should be living, right? This wasn't, this was coming from a place of ego and survival. This was coming from the place of the mind of, if I do this, I receive love.
Yeah. This
And
is where I've been for a good few years, man. And
yeah,
this is essentially why I find myself now,
incredible.
kind of leveling up onto that next, part of the journey, which is a bit more spiritual because of exactly what you're saying. You think that everything that you're doing is aligning with your inherent values, but like, have you actually ever sat down to understand what your inherent values really actually are? And I look at, my dad was the one that took me into the gym
Mm,
at 16 years old, and he was, I don't want to say revered by the people around him, but he was always, let's say, the strong, built up, man that I don't want to say people were scared of either, but
mm.
there was a certain level of like respect there, So
Tough South
I
African.
think exactly. So growing up seeing that,
Yeah.
that actually installed,
Yeah.
maybe something in me that was not inherently aligned with what my true core values were. But that's all I knew, so that's all I went by for a certain amount of
Mhm.
time. So yeah,
Yeah.
this is the place to now explore that next level up, essentially.
Yeah, and this is why I'm so passionate about this work because I've recognized like a majority of men to this day have experienced this, right? Their father was either physically not available, like
Mhm.
even like there for them, or their father was there but wasn't emotionally available to them,
Mm.
right? So my whole journey with like this need to strive and succeed from this pain, right? The pain was that I just wanted love, acceptance, approval, appreciation, and for my dad to be proud of me. And I never got that because his way of giving love was very different. His love was if I hold my son to an absolute, like the highest
Mm.
standard, that means he'll get the best out of life. And when he gets the best out of life, that means he'll recognize how much I love him. And right, and for me, what I made that mean, because as humans, we're just meaning making
Yeah.
machines. We just got to make meaning of things. As a young boy, I made that mean by I will never be good enough for love. I will never be good enough or worthy enough for my dad's love. So I became someone else right? Because I wasn't okay to be myself, because myself didn't receive the love.
Mm.
So I had to become this performer, this achiever, this overworker, this tradie, this, right, make all this money in order to get validation, approval, acceptance, which was my
Yeah.
way of receiving love. And when I hit rock bottom, I recognized that I'll never get that, right? Because you know, that's just it. Like, and I'm seeking it through trying to prove myself,
Yeah.
and it comes back to that's us externalizing our self worth, putting our self worth on something that's outside of us. And when we do that, that means our self worth is outside of us. So it's not in our control. Our self worth is then in someone else's hands. So when you're not getting that love from them, when you're not, right, then you're perceived as, well, I'm worthless and I'm
Yeah.
not, and I have to do these things in order to be loved. When I recognized that, and I was like, wow, like my whole life I've been striving and performing and doing all these things in order to, from a place of pain, just wanting love. If I just give myself that love, right? If I just fill that void within myself, if I just actually listen to my heart for the first time and do what I want to do, which was be an athlete, coach athletes, right? When
Right.
I listened to my heart's true desire, not my egoic mind trying to protect me by getting love in certain ways, by being a certain person, listening to my true heart's desire of like, no, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And even if I don't make money doing it, I'm going to be so much more happy. And I realized, well, if I'm more happy doing what I love, that probably means I'll be really good at it and I'll make more money. So I left everything about everything. I pushed my trailer into the shed. It still sits there to this day. All my tools are about 40, 50K worth of tools sitting there. I haven't touched them. It's still there.
Wow.
And I 5.5 years ago, I embarked on my coaching journey, became a personal trainer, and obviously I became good at it because it was like, that's what I love. That's what I was passionate about. And since then, I started coaching business owners and high performing athletes in the gym for 4.5 years. And then that journey really, like, and throughout all of this, bro, I was going through a deep spiritual awakening within my own journey as stepping into the conscious masculine energy.
If I may ask, how did you come about that? Like, what was the first like introduction to that realm of things? Because, obviously from a personal training and a
Mhm,
body composition and a coaching perspective, what you're taught is anatomy, physiology,
mhm,
movement. Um, there really is in training, there's no consolidation on like the spiritual and mental aspect at all,
mhm,
or at least on like, let's say when you're being taught at a PT academy, there's not really any addressing of like mental or spiritual
mhm,
matters whatsoever, and essentially their influence and impact on performance.
mhm.
So where did that kind of like come into play? Like, what was your first introduction to that?
Relationships.
Right. Okay.
So, for men, relationships is normally their biggest pain point and
Mm-hmm.
the area in their life that they struggle with the most. They either avoid them, deflect them, or they don't get into them, or they seek lots of them, right? Um, Through the work of, yeah, just burning through relationships, understanding why, I struggle to attract women, or when I was in a relationship, I struggled to like understand her emotions, and I just don't understand you. Like, you're
Yeah.
this crazy woman. Like, I don't get it, right? Um, that really started my journey. I was just like, there's something more to this, and through that, I started learning the work of the masculine and feminine energies, and understanding and recognizing that I was, I was what I would call a boy, even though
Mm-hmm.
I'd done all these things. Um, I was still seeking validation and approval. I was still seeking to be accepted,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I never see men need the initiation. They need the rite of passage. They need that tick of approval that you're a man, you have what it takes, you're wild. And most men don't get that at all. And like my journey, most people will continue seeking, striving, living a life that's inauthentic to them, not realizing what's actually underneath that is them just trying to receive love from their mum or dad,
Sure.
right? And when I like realized all of this work, I was like, wow, there's some depth to this work, the masculine and feminine energies, and and what it truly takes to actually integrate the healthy masculine energy. And through that, really started tapping into this work more around the spirituality, the more energetic. So that was the first one. The next
Right.
thing is the most important one is your environment, the people I was surrounded by. I started getting around the right people. I started getting around different role models, people that were actually living the life that I wanted to live, like a successful life where they're
Yeah.
happy, wealthy, abundant, have incredible relationships, have a life by design, like all of these things, not just financially. And I
Financially comes actually at the last of the list here, to be
uh-huh.
honest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I recognized there was a key thing with all of these people. They were really tapped into their true self. And this was, starting to get around different groups of people and these kinds of people going to events.
Yeah.
Man, like the last 4 or 5 years has just been personal development event.
Yeah.
Like every event I'll be there. That's how we met each other,
Yeah.
because I was
Yeah.
like,
That's how we
there's an
find
event
ourselves. Yeah.
about
Yeah.
personal development. I will be there.
Yeah.
Right? You start getting around these people, like, you met Martin, like he's quite tapped in, and you're like, these humans
These
are living incredible lives.
these are the people I want to be with, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And if a lot of my friends look at me like, oh, Damon's on this like spiritual journey, and I'm like, yeah, and it's great.
Yeah.
Like, it's really good. Like,
Mhm.
trust me, please join me on this. I was on that side, where I used to see certain friends of mine go on a certain transitionary
Yeah.
phase in their lives,
Yeah.
and I was like, yeah, he's lost his shit. Like, like actually, good luck, and I hope you find your peace.
Yeah.
But then I started to do exactly what you say of surrounding myself with the right people, to putting myself in more environments that are conducive to me being able to breathe, me being able to think clearly, me,
Mhm.
feeling loved and supported by
Mhm.
people that I was around. At the same time, I started to negate a lot of the negative energies in my life.
Yeah.
Friends and family, we spoke about this like 2 weeks ago, for
Mhm.
over coffee is, yeah, you're my family, I love you. But right now, this relationship isn't conducive to my personal happiness and, me taking that next, step in my life and leveling up essentially. So that is so important to like,
Yeah.
take that step. And sometimes people don't take that step because it's going to potentially cause pain as well, right?
Mhm.
If you are leaving behind everything that you're so used to or that's been a comfort zone for you, and you're going into something that you don't know much about, you don't know where it's going to take you, you don't even know what the next step is going to really be. It's so much easier to say, I'm going to stay complacent, I'm going to stay in this little bubble that I'm in because this is actually working,
Yeah.
even though that's actually causing you the most amount of pain.
Yeah.
So totally resonate with that second
Yeah.
point that you made.
And I love you say that, because that's why a majority of people are still living the same life,
Mm,
right? And bro, I was in the building industry, and now I'm like where I am now within a 5.5, almost 6 year period, right? So leaving that industry, bro, I still have messages on my phone from builders saying, "What are you doing?" Like, as
yeah,
if you're giving this up. Like, look what you've done. Um, and one thing I heard, like, you've lost your mind. And
yeah,
now I look back, I'm like, that's incredible. I lost my mind. My
yeah,
mind was there trying to protect me, but
yeah,
to be someone who I'm not. So I'm like, you know, losing your mind is incredible. Living from your heart's where it's at. And living, you know, yeah, that transition was hard. And that's the whole herd mentality. People will do more to fit in,
mm,
right, than they will to be right, to live true to themselves. They
yeah,
would they would rather fit in than actually be happy and live true to themselves. And it's a big thing I recognized. And it's interesting. It's like, uh, in my journey, like really tapping into this and being led by my true self and all of this work. I now look back after 5.5, 6 years, and those people are still working the same jobs,
yeah,
still doing the same shit, still got the same habits, right? Still in the same neighborhood, doing the same stuff over and
yeah,
over, in the same relationship that's unfulfilling, being someone who they're not, right? And and I don't say this from a place of ego, but it's like look at the dip. Like, I'm in Bali. I've built a 6 figure coaching business, transforming people's lives all around the world, like doing all of these incredible things, um, because I was the black sheep, and I was like, I'm gonna step
yeah.
out of the norm. It's like, there's a book called If They Zig, You Zag,
Okay.
right? If the herd is going one way, it's normally you go the other way.
Yeah,
Because if they're all following one thing, it's like, oh, what programming, conditioning is that coming
sure.
from? And yeah, yeah, there's a lot there.
And South Africa. When last were you in South Africa?
We went back for a wedding in 2018 for a month.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
How was that?
Yeah, incredible. That was my first time like truly back there.
Sure.
I was like 3 years old when we left, so that was my first time back, and like it felt like home.
Yeah.
But I could also feel like energetically the people there. It's a lot of fear.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fear based, right? There are some places in Africa and South Africa where it's
Yeah.
like it is what we call it calibrates at a level of love. So that area energetically is like of a place of like love, peace, happiness. But majority of South Africa is operating from a place of fear,
Fear and
right?
scarcity.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
And imagine how that builds majority of the population's ego, right? In their mind. It's very fear based and
when
scarcity
it's
based.
most of your life, like this is,
Yeah.
the reason why I bring South Africa up, and I think a lot of people that are listening to this are going to,
Mm,
be from South Africa. It's my home. I love it. My family, my friends are there,
yeah.
but and I really want to like say this very carefully because this is a subjective opinion. This is really, this is not talking for anyone else there,
Mm,
but I felt that being in that environment is what held me back from taking a next step in my personal journey. Um, not saying that everyone is like this, but I know that within my circle at least, there was no there was no wanting to step out of the circle
mm,
and, take the leap into the unknown. So, for me, about 4 years ago, left South Africa of personal training career
mm,
for 8 years to go overseas, and then as we got overseas, COVID happened.
mm,
So now I'm like out of my comfort zone
mm,
and I'm out of a job. So essentially then having to go online and take clients online, going even further out of
mm,
a comfort zone. And there were definitely a few people and a few opinions, and I think even myself being the biggest opinion giver here,
mm,
and my ego actually kind of being like the biggest thing that almost got in the way for me to go into online coaching full
mm,
time. Was, let's say, this fear of not knowing if it was going to work, but a lot of that was kind of from the environment of which I came.
mm.
And that was my mindset back in South Africa of like, stick within personal training because it's working for you, and you're not good at anything else because this is all you've been doing for such a long time.
Yeah.
um Fast forward, we're both now in Bali
Uh-huh.
running
Yeah.
six-figure businesses
Yeah.
and impacting lives and helping people
Yeah.
level up in certain areas of their lives, and very grateful for getting out of that comfort zone. So I know what it's like to now get out of a comfort zone and see how that benefits and changes my
Mm.
life. So now this is also why now I'm getting out of my comfort zone in another area, which is
Yeah.
like, more emotional, spiritual, development phase of my
Yeah.
life. One thing I wanted to ask was like, you obviously did, um, coaching in the physical realm.
Yeah.
How did you implement a lot of what you do now, or was it a transitionary phase, or did you just stop the coaching and go straight into, what it is that you're currently doing?
Yeah, I tried transitioning and it didn't work.
All right.
So for the longest time, my work, like when I got into the into PT, probably after the first year, I recognized that I was like I want to change the game in this space. I want to be a thought leader. I want to be someone who's working with the true depth of with humans, really helping people, not just build incredible bodies, perform, but also live happy, healthy, joyful, abundant lives where they have incredible relationships, right? So I knew from the start, I was like, PT is a stepping stone for me. I will be like a speaker, a thought leader. I'll be in the personal development space, personal development industry. So I always knew that. And in that time and space, I was like event, going to events, meeting
Right.
people, networking. I was actually in network marketing as well. So I built a network marketing
Hmm.
business and became a top income earner in Australia and New Zealand
Mad.
under 25 years old. And that was my first taste of like being able to help people in other ways as well. Um, so for me, I was trying to integrate, with clients, like doing mindset work. And then sometimes this is really where I was like, there's actually something here was when I had, I wasn't even training my client. She came in and we just sat down and just chat and we're talking about things and I realized that I started doing this with a lot of my other clients. We just started like actually working through the actual underlying issues and things within their relationships within these are like people that are twice my age, right, who are running successful businesses and high up in corporate jobs, making
Right.
lots of money. And I was there helping them, coaching them through their relationship, through their mindset, through them like understanding their breath,
Mm.
how to regulate their nervous system, like all of this stuff. And then they started getting some insane results and helping them have more confidence and self-confidence to like ask for what they want. And their relationships started improving. I remember this one incredible client I was working with. She was working for like this cosmetics in the cosmetics industry in sales, and she went from working this job that she was unfulfilled in with all of these people to actually discovering her self-worth, asking for what she wanted. So she doubled her income. She started like 200 or 300K a year,
Mad.
worked half the amount of time,
Yeah.
and was then able to travel the world. And I was like, holy shit, I've just added an extra 150K to her
Yeah.
yearly salary, and I'm here being paid like,
Yeah.
65 to $70 an hour. And I was like, hang on a second, there's something here. And then that's when I really started working with high level business owners and then athletes within that aspect of things. And I always knew I was going to make that transition. I tried doing it and I was like, why am I in the gym paying rent to be in the gym,
Mm.
working, just sitting down, having
Selling
coffee with
hours. Yeah.
clients. So yeah. And I recognized, I was like, so I pulled the pin. So this was only January this year.
For real.
Yeah, for real.
Okay.
January
Dude,
this
that's
year.
literally like a handful of days ago.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
feels
yeah.
like it.
For sure.
Yeah, and I pulled the pin, and I had a few clients that I was already working through, taking through
Right.
um all of the time leading up to January. I was working behind the scenes on like my life's work, my program. So I've got the embodied woman and the inspired man. So I work with men and women, helping them step into the embodied, conscious, masculine and feminine energies,
Hmm.
right? So they can create the most meaningful and abundant life possible. That's my purpose. That's what I
Right.
know I'm here to do. And I've been working on this in the background. So January comes, I'm like, done. Like I'm out of here. And I told the gym, and they were like, "Cool, you can just leave next week." And I was like, "Done." Left next week. I fired all my clients,
Crazy.
and within a month, within 2 months, I hit my first $20,000 a month in my business, and I was like, "This is what I'm here to do." And it felt normal. That's the thing. I was like, "Yeah, of course I did. This is normal. This is what I'm here to do."
Yeah.
And through that, like, bro, I've had um, business owners from, multi millionaires that own companies, have hundreds of employees, um, come to me for relationship stuff. And then we go deep into like
Yeah.
all of this other stuff.
You're like, well, this is ironic considering my background,
Yeah.
like where it all started, it's like
Yep.
kind of a full circle moment almost.
Yeah. That's true. And it was a construction, he owns a construction
Ah,
company. So
right.
yeah, I just realized that. And with that, like he's now attracted the most incredible relationship. And like, if you ever look at like my clients' success stories on my Instagram, like you read some of the stuff in there. I did a reaction video to this and I was like in tears, like crying,
Yeah.
like just reading like these stories from these people, like letting me know like how this work has actually changed their life. And I was like, this is what it's about. And through that, you see normally at the somewhere in there, it's like, bro, like I've lost 14 kilos, or like, dude, I'm feeling so good in the gym. And it's like, this is the thing. Like, I was trying to change this, and like, this is like all of this other stuff is what they're
Yeah.
truly wanting and desiring and seeking, going after. And then the physical is just a result and a byproduct of what we do and transform within
Sure.
ourselves. Yeah. And
Sure.
that was really like the beginning of my journey. So, yeah, January this year, I went boom, all in.
That's
And
it.
that step, it reminded me of the time I pushed all my tools in the trailer and closed the door on it. It's like and this is the thing most people struggle with, is making a decision.
Mm.
This is one of the key traits of the healthy, embodied, conscious, masculine man, is he can make a decision and trust himself, knowing that he'll
Yeah.
work it out. Right. And I say this to clients, when I'm on sales calls, I'm like, hey, at the end of this call, I don't care if you do this program or not, as long as you make a decision,
Yeah.
right? So the transformation actually happens on the sales call as well,
Mm.
because they get to actually make a decision, not based off their current circumstances, but based off their higher self and what they actually want for their life. Most people make decisions from this place, where they
Yeah.
are, how their bank account is right now,
Yeah.
how their relationship is right
Yeah.
now. It's like, make decisions based off that 5 to 10 year version of you, and watch your
Yeah.
life just 10x, and trust yourself knowing that you can stick it out and make it work.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, that's something that, I think trusting the self is the most important thing. Because, if I look at this time last year, I was living in Portugal.
Mm.
Um, the idea of me going to Dubai, for example, was like, yeah, but that's a different lifestyle. Can you afford that? Can
Mm.
is that going to be conducive to what you want to achieve? You also want to do an Ironman. There were so many of these things that were like starting to actually kind of get into my head a bit as to like, don't make the decision. And that was it. Then I was like, stop talking, start doing.
Mm.
And immediately book the flight. Once you book the flight, you plan around that now.
Uh-huh.
That's it. You don't need to have the accommodation, the flights, the
Yeah.
food. You don't have to have everything sorted, but making a decision to actually take the next step and change your life essentially. And then obviously went to Dubai, spent a couple months there, and then realized that that wasn't for me, but I could have stayed there and said, well, these are the things that are currently working for
Uh-huh.
me. Don't go to Bali.
Mm.
And then it was just book the flight to Bali and just do it. So totally, you need to just actually, I think, make the decision. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
One thing is that I just want to backtrack on, obviously you've worked with athletes, and a lot of people that are going to be listening to this are spending a lot of time in the gym,
Yeah.
are spending most of their time in the
Mhm.
gym. And this is something that I'm very glad that I went through a certain phase where I hit burnout, where
Mhm.
I thought more was more, but actually less is more. And actually sometimes pulling back, allowing yourself to recover and give yourself a little bit more space to do other things is really important.
Mm.
But, to the people that are listening that are really just going after a physical result and
Yeah.
spending most of their time just eating, sleeping, training, repeating.
Mhm.
The work that you do, how has that influenced some people that you've worked with, and gotten a certain result that maybe they were really looking for,
Uh-huh.
that they weren't getting out of doing more?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, this is huge. Also, my partner coming, Nikki was one of the best, well, she was number 3 in Australia in bodybuilding in physique.
Mad.
So she was quite successful in that space. And she reached the pinnacle of the sport with some of like the most, the biggest influential people in Australia, right? In that space. And she got there and realized she was doing it for the wrong reasons.
Mm,
I got there, I realized I was doing it for the wrong reasons. And what I was seeking and searching for the whole time was within,
mm,
right? And with that, it's it's just it's having a level of humility. And when I say humility, it's like asking yourself the real question and being 100% honest and real with yourself.
mm.
Why am I here? Like, why am I striving to look a certain way? Why am I striving so hard to perform a certain way? Right? What am I running away
Yeah,
from?
what are you scared of?
Yeah, what
Yeah.
am I actually running away from? It could be your relationship,
Mm.
right? A lot of men seek freedom through going to the gym because they're actually getting away from their partner.
Uh,
So they're not working with, yeah, bro. And I know that because
uh, yeah, we spoke about this.
yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And because a man's number one value is the need for freedom. So when he's not getting that sense of freedom within his relationship, he then goes and spends all his time in the gym, right, to get away.
There's the penny drop moment, dude. Oh my God. Okay. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I asked myself that question many times, like,
Yeah.
what am I actually running away from? And here's the cool thing. It's like when it comes to your training, it's moving through this pain that you're actually seeking, right? And fulfilling that within yourself. We should be able to feel and cultivate uh, all the love that we are seeking within ourselves. Because remember what I said, like as soon as we externalize a feeling, once I look this way, once I've been able to perform this way, once I look like this, then I can have that relationship,
Mm.
right? I can attract those kinds of women, right? You're seeking a level of fulfillment, which is a level of love that you get from having that thing that you don't currently yet have within yourself. And therefore it's externalized. So when you don't have it and when you don't get it, it's outside of your control, right? And that's the cool thing. It's like you can train from a place of um I purely and it's training is absolutely crucial and important for people's mental health, well-being, like
Yeah.
everything, right? Looking at the integrated divine conscious masculine and feminine energies, you've got the king and the warrior.
Yeah.
Right? They're strong, they're beasts, they can protect, they're assertive, they're like dominant, they're all of these things, right? In a healthy way. Then the unintegrated parts of those is like the wounded, like I'm doing this from a place of like seeking validation, approval, or to have power over people, right? So what I've recognized through this work is when people heal the root cause, right? And here's another thing as well to give this some more level of context. When our body is being run by fear, right? The need of seeking, the needing of wanting to be a certain way, insecurity is fear, right? Majority of men in the gym are boys because they haven't integrated these healthy energies.
Yeah.
So they're big, insecure boys that are covering up that insecurity with muscle, right? And that insecurity is actually an emotion of fear. They fear not being good enough and they're insecure about not being good enough, right? So when the body is living within the energetic frequency of fear, right, it's at a very low vibration. When people move through and heal this stuff and step into these integrated energies and heal the actual thing that they're seeking, they then increase their level of vibration to a higher frequency towards love. Therefore, their body will recover faster. It will perform better. They will, vibrationally, they're at a higher frequency and they're not doing it for anything outside of them. They're doing
They'll
it for
enjoy
themselves.
they'll enjoy the workout.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is like, this is the most incredible thing. This is why people start getting results because this is the thing. They're now not doing it for an end result or to look a certain way. They're doing it for the journey because they love it, because they love how they feel, because they love, what it allows them to do with their body. It's more of like and here's the thing. The deeper I started to get into this work, I actually had to change my why to training. Before it was, I want to be a freaking beast. And I was like, why do I want to be a beast? Oh, because people will think you're a beast. Right?
It's true, dude. It's so true.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, so now I'm externalizing that emotion again. I'm putting it outside. It's outside my control. Unless someone tells me I'm a beast, I'm not going to feel it within myself. Right? So when I recognize that I can create that within myself and know that within myself, I put out and I train from a different level of energetic frequency capacity. I perform better, and my why for training now is it's more sacred. It's like I'm like in my true warrior energy. I can protect. I can serve. I can, you know, I train for a higher purpose to serve humanity, to fulfill my purpose, to live in integrity as a man. I don't do it for any other reason. It's like I do it from a place of I am a walking, talking embodiment of the healthy, conscious, masculine energy that men can look up at me. Because, when you're training from that place, like your physique is a prime example of your level of integrity, your level of commitment, right? Not saying it is the absolute example of it, right? But it's a great example of it.
Yeah, it's not something you can buy. It's
No.
something that you earn and you put in the work towards.
Absolutely. And when it comes to, and for men to be able to really be in that conscious masculine energy, it's being able to stick things out for long periods of time, being able to suffer and stay present, right? And here's another thing on that. It's when you train, what emotions come out for you? Is it anger? Is it frustration? Is it, I'm going to fucking prove these people?
Yeah.
Or can you actually train from a place of love, but like assertive aggressiveness?
Yeah.
Knowing that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's how I go into all my sessions now, know, and I am, I stepped away from the bodybuilding consciously. I didn't step away from it because it didn't work. It was working. Like if I look at competing, winning shows, getting sponsorships, getting my food for free, getting free clothes, getting free supplements, like it was great. And then I was living at home with my mom, so it was like life was so good. But I stepped away from that consciously because I knew that it just didn't actually align with inherently like why I was doing the training. I think I got kind of sucked into that once
Mm.
things started coming towards me. I was like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, clearly and it was validation. That's really what it was. And
Yeah.
I reflected a lot on the fact that
Yeah.
I was doing a lot of that because I was just seeking external validation. And I didn't really ever take the time to actually validate myself
Mm.
or to even like just look a little bit deeper and say, why am I actually doing this? And so the past few years, then I kind of lost the motivation for the bodybuilding
Yeah.
because it was all I knew and it was all I was doing. And then this kind of goes back to what we were speaking about the other day and earlier with the Ironman, right?
Mhm.
Was that I needed a new goal. I needed something that was going to challenge me again.
Mhm.
Um, and then I did the Ironman or half Ironman. Just want to clarify that there. Everyone's like, don't say you did an Ironman. You did a half Ironman. Half Ironman 70.3. And I
Still pretty gnarly. Like,
it
yeah.
was a gnarly experience, but I think the training was the gnarliest experience.
Yeah.
The training was where I got the kickback, you know. It was like I would finish a run or a cycle and be like, whoa, power, like epic, you know, like I really challenged
Mhm.
myself there. And then I did the actual event and I crossed the finish line and I had zero fulfillment.
Yeah.
I had none. I really, and basically kind of my thought process behind this now is I've been reflecting on,
Mhm.
bro, you crossed the finish line of like one of the hardest things that like a human being can actually do. Um, why are you not proud of that? Why are you not fulfilled? Why did most people like cross the finish line, hands are up and they're ecstatic and you can
Mhm.
see the energy beaming from them. Why am I not getting that? And it's because I realized I was actually still stuck in that previous space that I was in of needing to actually prove that I could do something, needing to prove to other people that like I can be strong or I can perform at this level. But still, I hadn't ever come to the grips of, okay, but training has clearly been this constant in your life. So it's clearly something you are passionate about.
Mhm.
It's clearly something that you still love to do. It's clearly something that you can't actually go a day without doing in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
But you just don't get that feeling anymore. But so are you addicted to this now because you don't think that you can do anything else? Or are you just really still seeking that validation from others? Or you want people to see a photo of you running or cycling or swimming, or still you've got a good body, you know, like, are you still seeking that essentially?
Yeah. A great question to ask, and this comes from Tom Bilyeu. If
Mm-hmm.
you ever know, he's,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, he says it. It's what matters most is how you feel about yourself by yourself.
Mm,
So a great thing about doing a great feat like Ironman and stuff like that is it can be used in a way of like that initiation that we don't get growing up, that rite of passage to become a man you don't get growing up.
mm,
And I recognize that um, there's there's two two types of approval that a man goes through in his life. The first one is proving to his father that he's worthy enough of being a man, right? He has what it takes. And the second one is proving to himself,
mm,
right? So the next thing is like, you'll see someone go out there and they'll do an Ironman or do some crazy feat where they're doing it for themselves. It's like that's their rite of passage,
mm.
and they get to the end of the finish line. They're like, "Yes, I did
Yeah,
that." Like for me, and if no one was at the end of the finish line, it wouldn't matter because that's
yeah,
not about that. It's about them doing it for them, right? And it's how they feel about themselves when they're by themselves. That's what truly
yeah,
ultimately
for sure.
matters, right? So
Definitely.
when we look at taking on challenges in a healthy way, like the healthy integrated masculine seeks challenges to build and strengthen his masculine capacity
Mm.
to be able to hold the flow of life, the chaos of life, the energy of life.
Yeah,
That's why when someone who's really integrated within their healthy integrated masculine energy, they are the person where shit could be hitting the fan and they just hold this deep,
stay
calm
cool.
presence. They
Yeah,
know what to do. They have a plan. They execute on it. They're calm. They're just like, no, this is cool. Like it's all
yeah.
good. They don't see failure as failure. They see it as feedback and they're just like, this is all good. Let's
It's
keep
all
moving.
data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that healthy challenge of like taking on challenges like physically, it's like you're strengthening your masculine capacity to take on challenges, to push yourself to the limits, to see how far you can go.
Yeah.
And the pain, the suffering, the all of the things that are telling you to stop, that's the feminine,
Yeah.
right? And it's you having the capacity to be able to, in a healthy way, being able to
Mm.
be aware of that pain, and not identify with it.
Right.
Right. So this is the incredible
Yeah.
work of
Don't let it slow you down.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I think that's something that I definitely want us to get in on another
Uh-huh.
episode and like go into that, because like I think that's like another completely different,
Absolutely.
different realm of discussion. So,
Mm.
dude, I just want to say thank
Yeah.
you so much for taking the time today. Really, really
Thanks
appreciate
for having
it.
me on as
And
well.
dude, we're
Yeah.
definitely going to do an episode 2.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so down for that. Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Everybody, thank you so much for taking the time, and really, really appreciate you tuning in. If you do have any questions for Ryan, where can anyone who's listening find you?
Instagram's my main Instagram, Facebook. So Ryan Moresby-White. We'll put my name in the description
Yeah,
below so you can know how to spell it. But yeah, I put out so much free content and stuff on Facebook, Instagram around all of this work that I do. So yeah, go follow me on there, connect with me there, ask any questions you like. I'm an open book. So yeah,
great. Champion,
yeah,
thank you once
yeah.
again.
My pleasure, bro.
Really, really
Yeah,
appreciate you taking the time.
yeah.
Yo.